What is going on, YouTube? Chad here with Steelheart Customs, steelheartcustoms.com. I've also got Kaylee, the executive. Say hi, Kaylee.
Hi.
And we are working on our Harley Davidson 2014 StreetGlide Special. I have a video out where I installed new Hogworks halo headlight and turn signals. You can check that out if you haven't seen that. If you like that type of content, go ahead and subscribe. And if you like this video or it helps you in some way, feel free to hit the like button. Anyway, let's go ahead and get started with our video. So there's the headlight turn signal I mentioned earlier, and we've already went ahead and removed our factory air intake, which you see here. If you do not know how to remove the factory intake, there's tons of videos on it on YouTube. There was not too many videos on taking or putting on an Arlen Ness intake on a 14 StreetGlide Special, or at least it did not say that it was made for the StreetGlide Special that year. So I thought I'd make this video. This is the Arlen Ness Drift intake. So basically I've taken the factory air cleaner off, which was just a few bolts. Like I said, find that video if you need that video. I've got the factory cleaner off. This is what it looks like. We've got our throttle body. I've wiped the inside out. I've wiped this flange away. We had to take this, there's a plate that sat up here, put them bolts back in, tighten them back up, just snugged them up. We're not going to be using it. The plate I'm talking about is right there. Some intakes you do not have to take your gas tank off because you don't have to take this plate off. If you do have to take this plate off, which in our case, if you have the 14 and up StreetGlide and you're using one of these Arlen Ness big suckers or just Arlen Ness inverted cut, then you will need to take that off. It'll tell you if you do or don't. It's just in the way, it doesn't let the cleaner sit all the way back like it needs to. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to throw some small amount of grease along this opening or on the gasket itself right here. And the only reason we'd be doing that is because we just want it to be able to sit there while we are getting ready to mount the plate. So we're going to do that now, then we'll jump back in it. Alright guys, so we've got our parts in front of us. This is the backing plate. This is the inside. You can see that this is beveled so that the air is going to flow in to the motor this way. So this is the outside. So that means our gasket will sit right there. We'll lube this up, the backing plate, or we'll just lube the throttle body right here and stick the O-ring on that. Then we'll get the plate together, which before we mount the plate, we're going to have to put this oil catch against the bottom here. Actually, I'll go ahead and pull that out of the paper, out of the plastic. So, just a little catch, supposed to catch any oil that makes it past the intake. So it'll sit in there like that. There is a gasket that goes in between, and that's going to go on here. And we're going to use some Loctite for the bolts that go in there. There's two of them. All right, now we're gonna go to our grease. Just regular old heavy duty moly grease. And I'm gonna go ahead and move it up here. Okay, boys and girls, we'll go to the instructions now. It wants us to lube up the spaces for our O-rings, which are the front and the back, or where the O-rings sit. Gonna be these guys here. Just gonna use that same grease. See the O-ring sitting in there. There you go. And then next, we're just going off of our instructions. It wants us to install the NBR vent tubes into backing plate as shown. And that's going to be these little guys. It's pretty straightforward. Don't be afraid to do this. One thing to note, which you probably already know, but if you do put the intake or the air cleaner on your bike, then most likely you're going to want to put a tune on it, because supposedly they come from the factory already just a little bit lean, and once you do this, you're going to be letting in more air, and that's going to make it even more lean. So you're not going to want that. So you can see I put that one. I'm going to do the other one. Okay. So that's what it's going to look like so far from the front side. Back side has the oil catch with the gasket underneath, breather hose connections. And in our instructions, it says with thread locker in the backing plate, install the gasket on the backing plate. Loosely screw into the throttle body with the third socket head. So what? Do the top two tight and the bottom not so tight? Is that what it's telling me? That's loose. Those are snug. Coat the head of both banjo balls with grease. Install backing plate spacer between head and backing plate with the O-ring in it up against the head. Thread both banjo bolts loosely. Torque the 3/4, 23/4 socket heads that connect the backing plate to the throttle body to 8 to 10 foot-pounds. Then torque the banjos to 18 foot-pounds of torque. And our banjo bolts are these guys. You can see they have a little hole for oil for air to pass through. There you go. So coat the head of both banjo bolts with grease. So it's telling you the head of it. Don't get confused. I almost did. I had to reread it. It's wanting you to put grease down here at the bottom, so the back side. So the back side of this. So it's going to sit on the back edge there just a little bit. These spacers with an O-ring, it sits inside there. So the O-ring part of it will sit up against the head. So it'll go up against the heads. So the O-ring section, we're going to do the O-ring. Drop it down into the spacer. And if you remember earlier, we did put a O-ring on the front and back side of our plate. So it's basically going to be O-ring on the front side, O-ring on the back side, and then O-ring at the head. And that's all to keep this banjo bolt airtight. We don't want any gaps in between. We want a nice suction. Gonna work like vacuum. Putting the O-ring at the head, starting our banjo bolt. We'll check our instructions. So it told us to coat the head of the banjo bolts with grease, install backing plate spacer between head and backing plate with the O-ring, thread both banjo bolts loosely, torque the center bolts to 8 to 10 foot-pounds. So that's what we need to do, is put the torque on there. We'll do that. Got it over. Next, we're going to install the banjo bolt cover plates below left side picture, then install filter with the Arlen Ness engraving facing U so it is lined up horizontally below in the right picture. It's just telling us to line it up so that we can read it. Arlen Ness at the top. We'll just put these plates so we can cover those up. I don't think that lines up very well, so they are specific to each side the way they go. Actually they're marked on the back. They have a left and a right. So there we go. Covered up those silver bolts. So what I'm going to do, since I have to hold this, is just set one of these screws without the thread locker to hold it in place. So I can get the rest of my screws together.